I'm an autism awareness angel, making sure my wings protect the different, the stranger than. I'm an autism awareness angel. It's good, cause I'm cool with the unique behavior. I'm an autism awareness angel. Will you accept me? Cause I accept you. I'm an autism awareness angel, cause a view from the spectrum is a better point of view.
Hello, I'm Tally and welcome back to Autism 30. Today on our podcast, we are speaking with Mr. Bosang Lee. Mr. Lee is a father to his wonderful 20-year-old son who is on the spectrum. He's also an executive director of Here and Now Community Society, a nonprofit organization helping individuals with disabilities and their families. And he wants to apply plans modeled to the Korean community in Vancouver and spread it to other Korean communities as well. Prior to this position, he worked at Korea Telecom for 20 years in the area of strategic planning and marketing strategy. He has a PhD in economics from Cornell University and was also involved in founding the BSOR Welfare Foundation, a nonprofit organization for people with developmental disabilities in Korea. In 2008, he served as a board member until 2010. He also has served as a board member of Plan since 2014. Welcome, Bo.
Hello.
It's so great having you here. Now, when did you arrive in Canada from Korea?
My family arrived in December 2007 and I arrived in February 2010.
That's definitely a distance from each other. You must have missed each other greatly.
Yeah, we were separated for 2 years. It was very challenging to me.
Absolutely, it must have been. Now, were the cultural differences having a child on the spectrum being from Korea?
I think Korean people are very reluctant to open or even hide their children's disabilities,
Yes,
while people in Canada are very open from the beginning.
yes.
So one of my closest friends told me that he has also a daughter with a disability. When I told him that my son has an autism, his daughter is 10 years older than my son,
Yes.
which means he didn't talk about it
Wow.
for more than 10 years, even though he is very my close friends.
Yes, so I'm assuming what you're saying is people in the Korean community are more private.
Yeah, and also maybe they feel shamed, or maybe they think they don't have to talk about it because other people will see them different way.
Yes.
I don't know why, but that's kind of a cultural conception that we don't talk the negative thing.
Okay, but living here in Canada, do you find that you're able to be more open?
I think so. Luckily, in our cases, my wife and I are very open in the
Yes.
beginning. We didn't hide. We just talk that my son has a disability.
Yes.
And also we ask some help and we researched a lot to know what to do. And also, I found out in Canada, I saw a family who has children with very minor, I think, it's autistic thing.
Yes.
But they try to persuade other people that their son or daughter has a disability.
Okay.
It's very totally different from Korean perspective.
Yes.
We try to hide, but
Yes.
they try to maybe sometimes over exaggerate their disability.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
And basically, so when you're talking about being in Canada now from Korea, do you believe that being more open here has helped you and your family?
Yeah, of course. I think that's very, very important to accept
Yes.
that their child has a disability. And
Now, why would you say that?
That's what I learned by myself. I think accepting and opening is the most important thing that we find out that our child has a disability. We need to give an eyeglasses to our sons and daughters
Yes.
who have had bad eyes.
Yes.
There's no use if we push them to work hard to see better.
Yes.
I think this is the same thing. I think developmental disability is very similar to this situation. But many parents of child with a developmental disability do not accept this.
And that's really unfortunate. And I loved your analogy because it is very similar.
Yeah, and probably their disability is not shown.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I know that's a common thread with autism is that it's not obvious.
Yeah, maybe this hold on true only to Korean families, maybe. But without admitting their child's disability, they cannot step forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the situation is already hard enough. The family must work together and encourage each other. But if they don't accept the situation, it is more likely to blame each other.
Yes. And is there any reason why families should blame each other?
Because they don't accept it, because they think their child must behave nicely
Yes.
without knowing that their child has some problem in their maybe neurological
Yes.
how can I say neurological
Neurological capability.
capabilities. So it's just, I think it's the same thing as we had the bad eyes and bad ears, and we have like a very difficult to walk. It's the same thing, but it's hidden.
Yes.
It's not shown. That's why the parents cannot accept it.
Yes.
If they discipline them hardly enough, then they think their child will improve, which is not true.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
so-
I really loved your analogy using eyeglasses because I
Yeah.
know I've had 20/20 vision my whole entire life. And unfortunately in my late 40s I certainly need them to read. So in having this interview with you, if I could not read, it wouldn't matter how much you disciplined me, I still couldn't read the paper in
That's
front of
right.
me.
That's right. Yeah.
Well
so
enough.
we have to accept that situation, and also then we need to work together, both wife and husband,
Absolutely.
toward the same goal. How to help him or help her by changing environment,
Absolutely.
so that he or she can look better, which means behave better.
Yes, and I really loved what you actually mentioned because I know on a prior podcast we were talking about healthy marriages and healthy couples raising children with disabilities because unfortunately the statistics are that 80% of families who have a child with disabilities often separate, and you and your wife seem to be a wonderful team and working collaboratively. And what you just said is you work together as a family unit. Which you find very important.
Yeah, that's why I think it's very important in the beginning.
Yes.
They have to admit
Yes.
that their child has a disability, which means that they cannot control by themselves.
Yes.
So blaming is not a solution.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we need to work together to help the child.
Absolutely. And I think that's really important. So for people that are out there listening, I think you've said it very beautifully. The blame game really doesn't help anybody. And to accept and to work as a unit and to go forward really is beneficial to the development of your child, which
Yeah.
is
Especially when we blame a child why they behave badly,
yes.
which that will maybe make the situation worse.
Oh, no question. And I would agree
Yeah.
with you. Absolutely. Now, what have you learned about yourself and what would you like to inform others through
That's-
your journey?
Yeah, that's what I just mentioned about this. That's what I learned. Accepting and opening is very important. And then we need to ask help.
Ah, brilliant.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really key word, asking for help, because what
Yeah.
you were talking about, living in isolation and living privately, doesn't help. So in asking for help, I think that's a really, it sounds quite simple, but it's very powerful.
Yeah. Without helping from other people, it's very hard for ourselves to solve this kind of question. This is kind of a long journey, as you know, right?
Absolutely, it is.
It's not a simple. There's no simple solution. This is just living.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think you have many years on me because, I mean, parents like you really did pave the journey for parents like me, because my child is much younger than yours. So you really have set forth a really clear path for parents to follow.
Yeah, and also I saw many families who confess that their child with a disability made their family stick together and love more.
Yes.
And it's like a disguised blessing.
100% I agree. It happened to ours.
Yeah, so I think it all started from accepting and opening their child's disability.
Yes. So I think that's really key words. Accept, don't blame, and ask for help.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Now, you mentioned to me before, and I know I met you in meeting other people through Plan, but how did you get involved in Plan?
When I came to Canada, and when my son was 16 years old at grade 10, I started to prepare his transition planning into adulthood.
Yes.
And I spent a lot of time to research how to plan and study government supports and meet many organizations. Plan was one of the organizations I met at that time.
And for those of you, Plan does have a prior workshop, and I believe Plan does have a prior podcast on Autism 30, and I believe their date is July 15th. So if any of you want to check out Plan, please refer to that podcast.
And the Plan's question, who will take care of my child when we are gone, strikes me immediately, because I have had the same question since I realized my son has an autism.
Yes.
That's why I was involved in founding a welfare foundation in Korea in 2008.
Wonderful.
But we didn't have any solution at the time. And I talked to the Plan in order to apply Plan's model to our Korean Canadian people with disabilities.
Which is very important.
From the beginning, Plan eagerly helped us to establish our organization. They provided information sessions and workshops for Korean Canadian families and trained some of our families and coached us to build personal networks.
And now building a personal network is really important as well.
Yeah. And Plan also invited me to serve as a board member of Plan because I can learn many things from Plan.
Absolutely. I think we all can.
Yeah, which is really great opportunity for me to serve. Based on Plan's contents, we were able to open our website, both in Korean and English.
Lovely.
Yeah. Recently, we have finished translating Plan's bestseller book, Safe and Secure, into Korean.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
And that's a really good book, by the way.
Yeah. And we will publish and distribute the Korean Safe and Secure to the Korean families in BC for free, same as Plan.
Which is wonderful. And I can have all those details on our webpage at autism30.com as well.
Good. This is really, I think, is a wonderful example that we can follow.
Yes.
Because Plan already started very similar things. They published Safe and Secure and distribute for free to all the people in BC. We want to follow the same example.
Which is great.
Yeah, thank you.
And are there any other places and organizations that have helped you along the way?
I think ACT, the Autism Community Training.
Yes.
Yeah, is another organization that we want to work together. And ACT invited us to their conference in April 2016 so that we can talk about our communities.
Yes.
And also, they asked us to translate their documents, Next Step Guide, into Korean.
Oh, that's great. You're doing really good work.
Yeah, and also we just finished MCFD as a parent's handbook into Korean too. So we're gonna see soon those three very important documents and books in Korean here in BC.
That's wonderful. So the Korean community can be better represented and better looked after in BC because of the work that you're doing.
Yes, I think if there's anybody who is Korean to know about how the MCFT autism program runs,
Yes.
then they can look at those documents in Korean.
That's great, and please let your Korean friends learn about this wonderful thing that Mr. Lee is doing for the autism community here in BC. If they don't speak English, also.
Yeah.
And what is Here and Now Community Society, the organization that you are proudly a member of?
Yeah, Here and Now Community Society is a non-profit organization, of course, to help people with disabilities, in particularly for Korean community.
Yes.
Because there are more than like 70,000 Canadian families in BC.
Yes.
I think statistically, the estimation tells us that about 1,000 people might have some disabilities.
Yes.
So we found this organization to help those people who are having difficulties in communicating and understanding English.
Yes.
So we can help them to get information in Korean, and also we help them to translate when they meet the government officials and other organization people.
Yes.
And we provide seminars and workshops, and even we provide like a future planning, like a plan does.
Yes.
And also we help them to build a personal network too.
And all that's really, really great information. And I think that's really important for the community, Korean community, to be informed about.
Yeah. And also, I don't think we can walk this journey by ourselves. We need to maybe get together and talk together.
Yes.
And work together toward the same goal that we want to see our sons and daughters have a good life.
Absolutely, and I think that's the dream and goal of every parent.
Yeah.
And for any of you that are wondering, I will have the details to Here and Now Community Society. I will have those details on the webpage. So if anybody wants to get in contact, the details will be there.
Thank you so much.
And what is the main focus to Here and Now Community Society?
Yeah, I just briefly mentioned that to assist those Korean families, Here and Now offers like providing information workshops and future planning consultation for a good life, creating and maintaining a personal support network, advocating for individuals with disabilities and their families, connecting families to families, providing services such as we have like home camp, 2 nights and 3 days home camp every other month.
Wow, what fun.
Yeah, and also we have an art studio every once a week. They come together and draw their art, and we use them to make calendars and cards.
Oh,
and
wonderful.
we sell them, and then we distribute, if there's profit, to the people with the disabilities too.
Oh, that's wonderful. And what do you love about your position about being executive director of Here and Now Community Society?
I love to be in a position to bridge the mainstream of Canadian society to the Korean Canadian community. I have invited many Canadian leaders in this area to our seminars and workshops.
Yes.
With translation, so that the people in our community can easily get the information and know what's going on in the Canadian society.
Yes.
And now we are in the stage of flowing information from the mainstream into Korean community. But in the future, I hope we can, in return, to provide some like creative solution to other communities too.
Absolutely, because you're really bridging the gap between Canadian and Korean
Yeah.
information. And I think what you're saying is, in turn, you're going to be an example to other communities how they can do the same and work collaboratively together.
Yeah, I know the Canada is very, very like well known for multicultural nation.
Yes, something we're very proud of.
Yeah, so now we are having some help from other communities. If we work together, then it's gonna make our society better.
Yes,
Yeah, regardless of our maybe minority group.
yes.
Yeah,
Kind of the same in the autism community. If people work together
yeah,
and accept, then the child has hope.
yeah. I think so. Yeah.
And what do you do for families who contact you, and why do you believe it's so important?
Yeah, it's very important that a family whose child is newly diagnosed contact us because they would be so shocked that they don't know what to do, and sometimes their relationships are ruined.
Yes.
We talked about briefly in the beginning.
Yes.
If they, when they firstly found that their child has an autism, it's very hard for them to accept it. So as I told you, they blame each other why this son and daughter
Very true.
behave like this. So, but when they contact us, we can advise them many information they need, and also we can show them we are the family
Yes.
who has walked already the same journey. This is not a strange thing. So you can see us, and we are very happy family.
Yes, you're a very happy family,
Yeah.
and your children are wonderful.
Yeah. So I wanna show them and tell them their life is not that miserable.
No, and you're a
Yeah.
great example to
Yeah,
be giving
yeah,
people.
Yeah, so that's why I think it's very important when they found out that their children has a disability, just contact us and ask anything and ask help.
And you are really open to any questions.
Sure, yeah, of course, yeah,
It's a real relief that there's somebody like you in an organization like yours out there helping, where people that might have different thoughts or beliefs can come to you, and it's a safe environment, and you're open, and you really are advocating and helping
yeah,
families and children, which is great.
yeah.
And what surprised you about autism?
People say that the person with an autism is not interested in other persons, which is not true.
I agree.
Yeah, my son has a different story, but I think God created the people in the same way. All people are created to have a relationship,
Yes.
a relationship with God and relationship with other people. So people with autism really want to get along with other people too,
Yes.
but they don't know how to make a relationship. They want, but they don't know how. So, and also they have experienced so many like denials and rejections from the young age because they don't know how,
Yes.
which made them avoid to approach other people.
And that's really, I think, a key point of what you had mentioned is the fact that often children with autism become teens with autism, become adults with autism. And although society is slowly changing, often our children at an early age are faced with a lot of rejection, which
Yeah.
I'm really happy that you mentioned, because of the fact that you have to put yourself in other people's position, that if you faced a lot of rejection and a lot of that in itself is traumatic.
Yes, yes. So if other people really care for them from their early age,
Yes.
then I think that people with autism really love to be with them. I think
Absolutely.
my son, I think, is one of the evidence.
Oh, absolutely. He's lovely.
Yeah, and he was very like lonely, and he didn't have any interest in other people when he was very young.
Yes.
But we tried to let him in the environment to be with other normal friends and people,
Yes.
which makes him help a lot to know how to interact with other people.
And I think that's really important key, because I know a lot of families live in isolation with their children who are on the spectrum, and they don't necessarily want them going out in the public for whatever
right.
reason. And what you mentioned, I think, is a really key important point, is that children on the spectrum must be exposed to typical children
That's
as well,
right.
because
Yeah.
by learning and interacting and experience, there's learning happening. So
Yeah.
there's observations happening. So for those of you who are keeping your children in isolation, that might not necessarily be the best thing for them.
correct.
Exposing and getting them out there and interacting with other people like you have. I mean, it's your son is testament to what you've done, but I think is really important.
And some parents think that because their child is rejected by others, they might have some hard feeling and pain in their hearts.
There's no question.
But still, even though they have some reservation, we have to overcome it.
Absolutely.
It's our life.
Yes.
Yeah. So many other typical people have some difficulties, of course.
Absolutely.
The same as people with autism too. Yeah.
Absolutely. And what did you learn about yourself having a child on the spectrum?
Actually, I was like a person who doesn't care about others.
Okay.
But
well, that surprises me, because
yeah,
you're very
really.
empathetic.
Yeah.
In knowing you, you're very empathetic and warm.
Yeah, that's because of my son. Thanks to my son, I think I changed it. I know now. I feel the same pain that other families have, and I want to help them if I can.
Yes.
But before, I wasn't that kind of person. As I told you, when I finished my degree, already 20 years ago,
yes.
I was very excited to be successful in my career. But right now, I'm in a totally different area right now. So that's what I learned. And now I realize that unseen is more important than the seen. You know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now I can see the different aspect of life.
Absolutely. And you said when you received your PhD in your 20s that you wanted to be successful. I didn't know you back then, but considering what you've just said, is that, you know, you've become a more caring person. I personally believe that you're far more successful now than had you been continuing on your journey with just your career, because you are, in my opinion, far more of a success as a human being now than I guess you could have been had you not had your son.
Of course, I'm not sure. I might fail, but the chance, would be higher if I continue to be in my career. But my son changed my life.
Yes.
Which is better.
No question. And is there anything that we haven't yet mentioned that you would like to say to our audience?
I think the future of a child with a developmental disability depends on how his or her parents think. So parents is very, very important. Informing and educating parents from the early stage of their child with disability are very important.
Yes.
I have mentioned that accepting and opening are important. Likewise, asking help and participating a parent-led organization are also important.
Yes.
Yeah, there are lots of things that a family cannot do it by itself. So working together gives us solutions. And seeing other families who worked before us would give you energy and comfort. So equipped with more information, better knowledge, indirect experience gained from other families' experiences, parents can make their child's future much brighter.
No question.
So, but don't compare your life and your child's life with other people's life.
Absolutely.
It is your life. So the most important thing Love your child with all your heart. Love can cure anything. Don't try to fix them, or and love and encourage them. Change the environment, not the people with disabilities.
That's beautiful, and I agree. And I agree, and I think every statement that you just made is so beyond important for every parent on the spectrum or not to actually be aware of. And I think your son is very, very fortunate to have you as a parent, which
Thank
is
you.
beautiful. And the question that I ask all my audience, what would you like the world to know about autism?
Maybe I briefly mentioned this, but people naturally accept people with a physical disability. But people with autism show what people define behavioral problem.
Yes.
But they may have some reasons for doing that. So we need to understand why they are doing such a behavior.
Yes.
And we should not try to get rid of such behaviors without understanding it.
No question.
Yeah, so I think we need to understand why they do such a behavior and try to help them to cope, to improve their behavior by themselves by changing the environment that they have.
Yes. And basically accept.
Yeah, of course, accept and open and love.
And empathize.
Yeah.
And I love that message that you've given our audience, and I couldn't agree more. And I want to thank you, Bo, for visiting us today on Autism 30. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I really hope that the Korean community out there who are facing such challenges and such joys, that they shouldn't go through it alone, and build a community and a network, and contact you and your organization, which the details will be on our website. So thank you very much, Bo.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
And if you'd like to know more about Here and Now Community Society, those details will be on the autism30.com webpage. And if you're listening to us on iTunes, don't forget to click and write a review. And you can join us on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, and YouTube. Once again, thank you for joining us. This is Tally telling you to live and love.
Hey yo, I'm an autism